Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Open Coin Door podcast. I got it right this time. I knew the name of our own podcast.
That was great.
Thank you.
That was much better.
Thank you. I spent all week practicing.
What is the name of it? The
Open Coin Door podcast. I'm not going to get it wrong.
Open Coin Door.
I got that right. And we got video this time, which I know you're excited about being on camera.
I was a little surprised.
Gen Z demands it these days. You can't not have video. The TikToks, and what really prompted it was when I went to put it up on YouTube, and they're like, "Well, just put your album art with the audio." And I'm like, nobody's gonna watch an hour long.
That's true.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
If that's how you consume podcasts, I don't think many people consume podcasts on YouTube, but it is a thing. But now we've got video.
Yeah,
so
you could just put it at
I'm not getting fancy, at least right now with the whole production. It's just a camera pointed at us, and I figure we'll still do the conversation as normal. I know when I listen to podcasts, I listen to them. I don't watch them. And particularly, now there are some times, some of the podcasts that I listen to, pinball podcasts, they'll watch a reveal stream, like a trailer or something, and they'll be talking about it. And that makes more sense for video.
Sure, yeah.
But
we could do that. Was there a pinball reveal this week that we could do that too?
I don't think there was anything interesting happening.
Was there anything fun in pinball this week?
No.
Did I miss anything?
Not from any good companies.
No. Where's the wah-wah
That's
button?
right.
Dun-dun-dun. There's the trombone.
No, but thank you all for checking us out. Seeing a lot of followers already, a lot of people checking out the first audio podcast that we did, episode 1 from last week, and we really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun to do. It just kind of, like you said, peel back the curtain or open the coin door behind. Thank you. Well,
open the coin door.
Open the coin door behind what it means to run an arcade. And there's tons that we can talk about. There's so much always going on here, and challenges and things that I think people have no idea. I've already got an idea for a potential guest for next week because you're going to be out of town.
I am. I have to go on vacation.
Poor guy. Poor guy's got some vacation.
I have to go, and then I have to start getting back to the real world.
Yeah, so. But I think I'm going to rope Mark in here. Mark is a good friend of Colin's and I. You were just actually at Mark's house.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Setting up a bond pen for him. And Mark has helped me instrumentally. It helped us both, but also me in particular with networking stuff, which is not something that you would definitely not expect to deal with when you're running an arcade. But guess what? Things are connected to the internet. These Stern pinball machines, they connect to the internet so that you can get the achievements. And when that doesn't work, that kind of sucks.
Some pinball machines are connected.
Some of them
to the
are.
internet.
Some are not. Some were, and then that got pulled.
And then
so I don't know.
And then they're going to be, and then they might not be.
Yeah.
Mark's really smart with that stuff, though. I mean, he's helped us a couple different times.
Very much so. I mean, I used to run a web hosting company. I'm a geek. I know some of this stuff, but when you put a lot of people in a building, that stuff becomes way more complicated. And it's a big cavernous building, and it's got a metal roof, and it's all these things kind of factor in. When people don't have cell signal, the first thing they're asking is, y'all got Wi-Fi here? And so they connect their device, and God only knows what their device is downloading. So I think next week we will probably, if I can get Mark nailed down to come in as a guest, we'll talk about that a little bit, because I think it is interesting, not only those challenges that I faced, but how we overcame them and how I would approach it if I was starting fresh, I think, at the arcade.
And let's just be clear, I don't have a clue.
It's not your gift.
No. I'm the person that talks about the stuff and tells you when it's wrong.
Right.
Hey, man, this doesn't work, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I can only help with so much.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there were some pretty simple fixes that I didn't even think about. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty dead in the water if things go wrong. That's where you come in and Mark comes in. So that'll be really fun. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Be good to have him talk.
It's definitely an interesting challenge to deal with. And we stream to Twitch, too, for our pinball tournament. So that's where you and I both dealt with it because that's a lot of uploading and stuff. But we'll get into all that next week. Today, there's a couple things I want to talk about. We had a fairly busy week. It was kind of quiet Wednesday, Thursday, and then from Friday on, people were out. We kind of had mixed weather, and weather is kind of one of those things that can affect whether or not people show up. And we had some big storms come through, and rain is great for an arcade. I I don't know why I thought sunny, warm summer weather was going to be great for an arcade. It turns out it's quite the opposite. Our busiest season is like the cold of January and February, and like that like nasty Virginia weather that happens where you think like this is never going to be nice outside again. That's when arcades are great, which makes a lot of sense, you know, saying it out loud. But when you're like on paper, you're just sort of like, oh man, I need the summer, I need the best season. It's like, that's not really it. You know?
And when you first started, we had plans for, I can remember the summer plans that we would try to do. And we try, let's do a big party in the summer. Let's do this in the summer. And they were very poorly attended.
Sure.
And it took a couple times. I can remember the second time we did it, you were like, we're not doing this next year. We're not doing this. But it's not the thing. If it's nice outside, people are traveling. It's the traveling season.
I mean,
right? Like,
literally, you just said you're going on vacation.
I'm going next week.
So,
I know one of the people that work here, they're going on vacation. Sometime we're going to go because they're one of our friends. And we know, you know, it's the travel season too, not just the weather that people want to be going to, you know, whatever they're doing. Right. But they're also planning. It's summer. School's out. So we only have this, and that's kind of what the summer you adjust your hours. We
did. You know, and that's the flip side of it too, is like people are like, oh man, my kids are out of school. Are you going to be open longer? And I always get questions about that. You know, like, when are y'all going to be open longer? Right now, our regular season, we are open in the evening, Wednesday through Friday. And we're open late on Fridays, but Wednesday and Thursday, 4 to 9. Friday, we stay open till midnight. And then Saturday and Sunday, pretty much all day. And, you know, people are like, oh, man, I'd love to, you know, bring my kids in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. And I'm like, you know, you say that, and yet probably people aren't going to show up. So we take Monday and Tuesday off. I have to have time, you know, for Mike to fix the pinball machines, for people to come in with deliveries and stuff. And it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But still, even now, Wednesday and Thursday are less busy. We were trying to decide, okay, with school being out, there is a potential that people would like more hours. In the past, we've opened at noon, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
In the past, how has it gone?
It's really hard to say. Some days you're like, oh man, I'm so glad we opened early. And then other days you're like, wow, this is really hurting. And, you know, hurting is because we have to pay staff to come in. And not only just the paying of them, which is its own expense. Payroll is the biggest expense that I have, you know, but also just finding staff. You know, we run a pretty tight ship in terms of number of people. You want to give people the amount of hours that they want to be able to work. Yeah. There's not a lot of overage there to be like, oh, who are we going to pull in on a Wednesday afternoon? You know, if we're opening at noon, that means someone has to be in the building at 11. And that historically has been my general manager, Paula, or myself, right? Like it's, you know, like
you kind of have to cover.
We kind of have to cover for our regular staff because their hours are already done. We might be able to pull someone in on one day to here and there, but that gets expensive as well. My general manager and myself, we're on salary, so it's like we can work whenever we want. It doesn't really affect numbers
as
necessarily.
Long as everything's getting done.
Yeah,
right. So when you talk about staffing, you talk about having the people here and getting the people here. Do you have people that are seasonal like that? Do you have people that are like, hey, I'm out for the summer, I'm going to come back and I can work for the summer? Do you get a couple extra employees?
We have, because we've had some go off to college. So,
sure. Okay.
Yeah. You know, we've had some folks who worked for us and then, you know, that were in high school, and then when they go off to college and they were great employees, you know, part of me wants to be like, why you don't need college? Just this is a career path.
This is a career.
I mean, it worked for me, you know, but
that's a little different. You own it, right? I mean, it's we actually talked about that this week.
But you know, so we've got actually one employee, a great one, Connor, is right now home for the summer and working for us regularly. So that works out well. It can pose a challenge when there are changes, and as you listen to this podcast week over week, you'll realize there can be lots of changes in this place. I have a tendency of pushing the envelope of what we're doing. That can be really hard if the last time you were here was over the holiday break or last summer and you come back into it. And so, I know that was a real challenge, and we'll get into some of this about those changes, about adding the bar and dialing up the amount of food that we sell and what that looked like. For somebody who was working here when it was just an arcade with none of that, that can be a real challenge. And some people are ready to step up to that and learn the new stuff and do that. And others are like, wow, this is way more than I remembered it being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you have, so you might get a couple that come in and you get a little bit of help.
Right.
Do you put out hey, we're hiring for the summer? Do you put out a seasonal?
We haven't yet. We haven't needed, and it's a challenge in part too, because it's like you don't want to bring someone on and be like, I can give you 5 hours a week or 8 hours a week. Like,
right.
It's almost not worth it for them to take a job like that versus working, I don't know other seasonal places that hire for the summer, if they were to go get a job.
Parks and Rec or
wherever the case may be.
A camp counselor or a lifeguard.
They can make a decent paycheck.
Sure.
Here it'd be like, well, I'm going to have you cover my Wednesday and Thursday in the afternoon, so you might get 8 or 9 hours, and it'd be like,
I give you 10 hours a week.
But
it might be something that they could do, like, okay, I get 10 hours a week here and here. If I'm a lifeguard, I just won't schedule my lifeguard hours there, and I get a little bit extra, and it's a cool job. It's a cool gig, and it might learn, like, or lead to something that, like, you tend to keep the ones that want to be around, and if they're good employees, so it might be something where, okay, well, it's not seasonal now. I've been here for a little while. I want to keep doing this while I'm in school, or I want to keep doing this. Well,
anytime that I'm back,
if I'm a young teacher, and whatever the case is,
right?
Okay, now maybe I can get more hours. So it might be a good way. How many?
The other challenge I'll say with seasonal employees is the amount of training that goes in, because this is such a unique type of job. Working a point of sale, some people will have some experience with that, but the arcade, the bar, those various things, the food truck, those pieces of it. It's very unique to what we're doing here, and that can make it hard for someone to jump right into it. Whereas, like you said, Parks and Rec, somebody can, like, hey, you're going to be leading this group of kids, so I'm playing basketball and coming over there and do that. There's not a ton of training probably required beyond some basic policies and procedures and stuff. Whereas here, it's like we tend to invest quite a bit of time getting people up to speed on how we do things at Reclaim. That could be a month or two, and then the summer's almost over.
And then it's over, and you're like, well, we should have just kept you at the front.
Right.
There's only so much that you can do. So how many staffing for the new hours, staffing for the old, whatever they are, how many people, what is and you talked about the overhead, right? Like trying to keep it tight, and you have to, it's by far the biggest. By far.
Oh, yeah.
It's
for sure.
If you have a business and you're running that.
Yeah.
But how many people are in on a daily basis, like on a Wednesday, a Thursday, and then a Friday, or versus a weekend, I guess?
What we call it is like when we don't expect to be busy, which we wouldn't during the day on a Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. We call it a skeleton crew. And that is one person up at the front. Because of the layout of our building, it's you enter in one room, you come into here, we're in the living room area of Reclaim Arcade, which is, we've moved all the furniture around, but normally the couch would be facing the TV and people can play the Nintendo and stuff. But these are all like segmented spaces.
I think a tour might be in order. So
maybe I need to do a little.
For the podcast.
Yeah, and the Gen Z will be happy with the vertical video.
I was just going to say, now that we've introduced video,
we could do that too.
They need to know.
Why not?
But you enter into the beginning, the entrance is a video store. It's like an old Blockbuster.
Right.
And
so someone's got to be up there to greet the person, to get them checked in, get the people buy their passes, or if they're members, they show their membership card. So someone is always up there. That's one person. And they also monitor the living room area. If somebody wants a game changed or something, talk again about training. It's like somebody comes up and says, I want to play this video, or I want to play this game on the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo. They have to come back here and know how to work all of this stuff behind us.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, look. These are from when we were kids.
Yeah.
So that's
a Laserdisc player. And we have 2,000 Laserdisc movies against us.
And you've got the Genesis, you've got the Super Nintendo, you've got the regular Nintendo, you've got a VCR. So they all have the old like switcheroo,
right,
or the old plug-in where you have to push the button on which it's not like put the remote on the right input. Like you have to get the box and do it, and then you've got the TV here, and it's got to be on the right channel.
Becoming that dad, right?
It's got to be like
with
channel
like
3.
4 remotes, and he's like, I know what input I need for the audio for the receiver to do this and that. It's like they become that guy.
I really hope that my family's not watching, because that's exactly.
Hey, it's a rite of passage.
I have 3 remotes. I have the audio.
Sure.
And then I have the TV, and then I have the dish. So I have the cable or whatever. So.
And they're like, I just want to watch TV. Why is there no audio coming out of the TV? You're like, oh, gosh, again.
This is how you do that.
Right.
This remote. But then you need that remote. So I mean, it's the same type of thing. But those people that are up front, they have to know.
They're managing this area because it's right next to them. And then you've got one person over at the bar, and they're kind of overseeing the whole arcade area. So they're obviously working the bar, and if anybody goes up to the bar to order food, it's counter service for ordering and delivery and that kind of thing. So they're handling the bar, but they're also wiping down the machines when they get a chance. If there's a stuck ball on a pinball machine, they'll go and help. So they're managing the arcade area, and then there's somebody on the food truck to make the food and send it up to the bar. So
that's 3?
3 people.
3 people and a skeleton.
Yeah, 3 people as a skeleton.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and you think
only 3?
Well, but you think of that compared to a good example would be like a brewery, because we keep kind of like brewery hours, but some breweries will be like, oh yeah, we're going to open at noon on a Monday.
Yeah.
It's because they only need one guy.
They only have one person.
Yeah, that one person can, wipe down, they do all the things, they're standing up at the bar, can I get you a drink? If no one's there, they're going down and moving tables and doing whatever. Like one person can oversee the whole thing. This space, the way it is laid out and the types of things that have to happen for us to be open require 3.
So a skeleton crew, you've got a greeter, you've got an entrance person, whatever, and they monitor these 2 rooms, and then you've got a bar person who's responsible for the arcade,
right,
and then you've got somebody doing the food,
right, and
one person on the truck.
And then as we dial that up on our busier days, like on a Saturday afternoon or a Friday night, we add in what we call an arcade ambassador, who is a floater in the arcade that is taking out trash, checking the games, wiping them down, checking the restrooms, doing all the stuff for anybody who needs it. If they need help up front, they'll scoot up front and help them with checking people in. If they need to take something to the back, they'll do that. So we have an arcade ambassador, probably 2 at the bar on our busier days for sure. Yeah. Especially like we'll get into talking about karaoke, because Friday night, this was a very busy night, and it always is. So Friday night's a perfect example. We have 2 people at the bar and an arcade ambassador, the person up front, and then we'll have 2 on the truck, and sometimes even occasionally a dishwasher in addition to the 2 kitchen people.
So you'll double it.
Lately, the dishwasher person is also jumping on the truck and helping and kind of floating between to try and save a little bit on the cost of the kitchen. It just depends on, again, how do you predict how many people are going to order food? It might be busy in here and the food sales aren't amazing and not really happening. So the food truck person might be like, well, I don't need a whole lot of help here or whatever, but the bar is slammed and they need the help. So it's a constant juggle and push and pull. But yeah, at any given time, you could have 6 to 7 people in the building on our busier times and dial it down to 3.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was only 3.
Yeah.
I'm here every day of the week.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it was only 3, like on a Wednesday. I thought it would be 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean 3, it makes sense because they can do all the things that person can do, especially if it's, like you said.
And you'll get those days, like you'll get a random Wednesday evening that's suddenly like, oh, this soccer team was in town and decided to come, and they get their butts kicked, man. Like they get their butts kicked.
But
and
you can't.
There's no way to predict that.
Right.
You can try.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You can't base your Wednesdays on once every 3 months.
No.
One of those things, because those things, they don't happen very often now you can prepare, and we talked about the party room last week,
right?
It is a bonus to the business.
Yeah.
Do you prepare if hey, on this Wednesday in 3 weeks there are 3 parties, we need to have an ambassador?
We're getting better about that for sure. It's still a challenge because sometimes even if there's a party booked, they're bringing in their own food and drinks, so they're not ordering from the food truck. Or they might tell all of their guests, oh yeah, just order food and I'm covering the tab. I don't know. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. So, like, we allow people who book parties to bring in their own food and drinks, non-alcoholic drinks. Are they going to be drinkers, or is it an 8-year-old's birthday party?
Right.
Don't know necessarily. We could ask those questions.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Do you on your form online? Most of them are online.
Yeah.
Most of them you get booked online.
Yeah.
Is there a form there where you already do that, or have you thought about expanding that?
We had at one point, we were asking them, what are you celebrating? I didn't think about it for that reason. Ironically, I was using that because I thought about making the TV have like a happy birthday Eric type message or something if they were celebrating someone's birthday, or happy 8th, Jaden, or whatever the case may be. But I never got that far. I was like, this is way too much work. I'm not doing that. But that would be very interesting just to get a gauge on what kind of party it might be and how we might schedule for that. Most of the parties are booked well enough in advance where we could. And a perfect example of that is actually your wife had a party. She had a bunch of her teacher friends come.
Yeah.
And when I was looking back at numbers, I'm like, why were they so busy? And luckily we had 2 bartenders and all that, but I'm like, why was the bar so busy? Typically on a Thursday, if it's not a pinball tournament, it's not busy, and that tracks. This past Thursday was not busy whatsoever here, and that's usually the case. It's just a normal Thursday night, and that one in particular, I'm like, what the heck? What was going on? And when I look back at the calendar, I'm like, oh, Erin and her friends, and they were probably having all the new drinks and stuff at the bar and all that.
I would say there were 12, 14 people, and they all, I did a good job of saying, hey, you need to try the drinks.
Try the drinks.
So
the bar was very busy that night as a result, and that's something that we could have predicted.
Maybe put that on the online form. What is it?
Right. What are you celebrating?
A couple specific questions, like what age range is this? Is this like 8 to 12, teen, 21 and over, or like a retirement party, whatever it is, and then
now weekend staffing, it's always going to be busy, so we just know, if it's not, but there's more often than not it's the reverse. It's we expect it to be fairly busy, and so we staff accordingly. And if it's not, it's like you'll send people home or something, but that's about all you can do. It's just sort of like, well, we're just doing our thing here,
right?
But
and so it's been 4 years, 3, 4.5. Are you including COVID?
Are you talking about how long the arcade's been open?
Yeah.
Yeah, we opened January 21, so it's been 4.5 years.
Over that time, you've gotten a pretty good gauge of what should be the numbers.
For sure.
For what day.
And that for what day and what month, right?
And
that changes.
That's what I was just going to say.
The seasonality, as you're mentioning.
You said, Thursday night pinball tournaments is not a skeleton crew,
no,
by any means, and you need to know. And same thing with maybe the women's league,
right?
The Jenna Brings, or whatever the case is. Friday night when you have bands, obviously not going to be, But if it's just a regular Wednesday or regular Thursday,
sometimes you'll have a band that just doesn't hit, and that's unfortunate. But more often than not,
but it's
Friday
still a weekend and it's a Friday. And you'll have to have more than the double. You have the 6.
So for this summer, we decided instead of doing Wednesday through Friday, we were just going to have summer Fridays. So we'll do our normal hours Wednesday and Thursday. And I want to brainstorm ideas for building up those Wednesdays and Thursdays. We do the pinball tournament the last Thursday of the month. We have the Women Flipping Out League. I guess it's not a league. They do the league over at Maltese, but it's their monthly tournament on another Thursday. And so Thursdays, I think we've got some options there for tournaments and stuff. I'm open to ideas. If any of you all have them.
I have one.
You have ideas I want to build Wednesdays.
Yeah.
What's your idea?
A tournament.
We already do tournaments.
Video games.
Video game tournament?
Look, there is no cooler venue. I was talking to Mark about this today, actually, because he got a Switch too. Did anybody get a Switch too? Did anybody get one? So
he got a Switch too.
Yeah, he did.
I thought you meant TOO.
Nope, a Switch.
Yeah.
Deuce.
And
he was talking about the Mario Kart thing, and I was like, oh man, that would be pretty cool. Because we have talked about doing like a Madden or a Super Smash Bros. Or something. And if you guys have ever been here, all the way over on the other side, where the projectors are. There's this huge wall. How tall is that wall?
It's like our music area.
It's like 12 feet, 14 feet tall.
Yeah.
And
I think it's 12 feet high.
Yeah, and then it's however 25 something
feet across. Yeah.
And there's 2 projectors. So, and I know that you're really smart. You could put one on this one and one on that one.
Right.
And make it split so that one person could be driving over here, one person could be driving over here. This could be their screen, this could be their screen, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can put it up on the TV like we do for karaoke. But don't do it on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Do it on a Wednesday, start it at 7 o'clock so the parents can bring their kids here, and it goes from 7 to 9 or from 7 to 10. And just have it be an open, maybe a qualifier or whatever. I mean, we can figure out those things.
Right.
But especially...
That's been the key for me with video game tournaments, because I'm so embedded in the pinball tournament area in terms of the structure and the format of it. I never know. Like, people would say, like, oh, you should do, like, a fighter games tournament. I'm like, I don't even know what that looks like.
What's the email for this podcast? Opencoindoor.
This is opencoindoor@gmail.com. So,
Internet?
Yeah. Let me know.
If anybody has any experience running a video game tournament.
If you're local...
Yeah.
If you want to volunteer, like, that would be amazing to, like, run something like that. I don't know that world enough, but I do think it would be awesome. And I would love to do that to balance out all the pinball stuff that we do. It's just the world that I live in. I'm like, I don't know, like, structurally what that would look like. But I think that's a good idea. We've done, like, spirit nights. We typically lean towards Wednesdays and Sundays. For those, and spirit nights, is the classic, your school hands you a flyer and says if you go to the arcade, they're going to take, we do $5 from every entry goes towards that organization. And that can drive a lot of people to show up on a day that normally wouldn't, like a Sunday afternoon or a Wednesday evening.
Those matriculate, right? Like, okay, people are in the door. People are in the door, they're going to get a drink, or they're going to get French fries, or they're going to get, you know what I mean? So the $5 off of the $5 from the entry is beneficial for them. But now you've got more people in, more people in.
And it's super cool because we can support, like, nonprofit organizations and stuff. And I'd like to do more of that too. Like, maybe I let, like, nonprofits use the party room for free if they pay entry. Like, instead of having to pay $300 to book a room with 20 guests.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like you let everybody come in and you've got a meeting space, but in a really cool arcade, and there's other ways at that.
Have you ever had...
Might be something too.
Instead of party in the party room, have there been just like meetings in the party room, do you know of?
Yes.
Where they bring, like, hey, we're going to have meetings here.
Not a lot.
Like real estate agents? I remember that?
I had some business that used it for a workshop. Off hours party, but they were in there doing their PowerPoint thing, and I was like, man, those people must just be checked out just knowing what's sitting right outside that door. Like,
that
just
PowerPoint.
Let me go play pinball. And they're like, we got to meet our ROI on the on these numbers here. And Bob, what do you got to say about the matriculation stats here? And you're just like, I want to go play Street Fighter.
All I want to do is go find Pac-Man.
Right. But it's not a very popular option. It
is different, though, for corporates to, hey, guys, we're going to have pizza on Friday.
Right.
Right? It's kind of more cool to have. And that's what they did with
we do get
Aaron's.
we do get lots of groups that will use this as their, like, hey, we're having all
their
the
social
employees,
hour.
Their employees coming out and doing that kind of thing, or
whatever.
I've
had
or even
1, 2
booking the space privately.
3 of them this year reach out to me.
Sure.
I'm like, talk to Tim.
Yeah.
Just like, talk to Tim. That's not. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, get online, book it. You know, but it is different than just a party room,
right?
And I think maybe putting that on there to know, hey, how many guests do you think you're going to have? What kind of party is it? What are you celebrating? What's the age range? Then you could maybe prepare.
Maybe gauge whether or not we need to staff up a little bit more for that night in preparation. Or even just to know, like, if we're like, it might be crazy, it might not, but we're good with our current staff, but the numbers might be better, which would be awesome.
And with the changes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real thing, what you said about the changes happening, and if people are adjusting well or not. You don't want them to be overwhelmed in the first month. And, if it's a retirement party and there's only one bartender and they're like, old-fashioned margarita, what's this Kong Island? Like, what? Yeah. And it's only one person versus, it's an 8-year-old's birthday party. I don't need somebody on the bar, but maybe an ambassador.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
maybe. I mean, it might be something to think about. So, and I mean,
we'll see how the summer goes.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're we're opening early on Fridays and going to keep our regular hours for the rest of the time and see how that plays out.
Will you go
I need
through
to do
Labor
more
Day?
advertising. No, around here, school gets back in session in August, so that's
so you'll do it.
We're going to do it until like
you'll coordinate it with the schools.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
for sure. Yeah.
So we look
the
at
pools
the
don't
breaks.
do that. Like the pools are like Labor Day weekend, and then because
I mean, once they're back in school, there's no reason for us to be opening early
in the middle of the daytime, right? And that's the pools do that too. Like, hey, we're not going to open until 4, but we're going to stay open until Labor Day weekend.
Right.
You're just going to back yours off. What is that, like the first week in August?
Yeah, I think that will be the last one. It's the first Friday in August will be the last time that it starts at noon, and then we'll go back to our regular hours after that. So yeah, we've got that going on. And our first one was this past Friday. I was very late at getting the news out too, so it definitely wasn't super busy. It just kind of snuck up on us. So we're like, man, it's already June. Holy cow.
You should probably put that out there.
Not only that, but it was just like we weren't even able to staff the kitchen because we hadn't scheduled anybody. Like, it just snuck up on us, and we're like, oh dear. So we'll be much more prepared this week and going forward.
Oh dear, is that what you said?
Oh dear.
Oh dear, you and Paula were. Oh dear.
Oh dear. Oh golly me.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Sheesh.
Jeez. Oh jeez.
Man.
But yeah. And then Friday night was busy, I hear. I wasn't here, but you were here.
Friday is so much fun, man. It was so much fun. Emo night is my thing, man. Like emo night, but we kind of screwed up the cadence, and that's something I think maybe we should talk about too on one of these is when you're planning extra things, because this isn't just an arcade. You've built it into a venue. You've built it into a place that you come. Like, we have music. Fridays is music, and we're talking about venturing into Saturdays for some things
potentially
in the late night
Saturday, where it starts to kind of go off a cliff here in terms of the busyness.
Fridays, and it's a music destination. You've done a really good job. I mean, we installed all those lights, and then they're all there. And EK does a phenomenal job. I would be lost without him. Yeah. Like, seriously, the dude. Do you know what he did this time? I don't think I told you. You guys need to come to karaoke. This dude, he put. So, on Kara, we use Karafun. On Karafun, like, it wasn't telling who the next person was, and they were like, when am I in the queue? When am I in the queue?
Right.
He put a scroller on the top that said who the next person was.
Ooh.
What?
Wow.
I turned around and I said, hey, was that just an update? He said, no, I put that up there. And you just put it there?
Is he typing people's names in?
No.
To it? Or like
it's part of the code. It's part of the something. He probably talked to Claude and said, Claude, can you put this up there? And Claude said, sure.
His AI agent.
His AI.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, man. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. Off the charts.
EK is our sound guy who works these events. And so we've mentioned before, we have the bands. You have to have a sound engineer for that. But even so, in the past, I didn't have EK for karaoke. I would just have you come out. But we realized, like, honestly, even with karaoke, you need someone monitoring the levels on everything, being able to adjust on the fly, and I think it is good support for you so that you can just focus on who's coming up next, calling them out, playing the song, doing that, and you don't have to also balance, is everything sounding good, and all, like, having to, juggle all of those things, and he brings a lot to the table.
The way that you've got it
visually,
set up.
with the lights and stuff.
The way that you have, like, the vision that you had, right? The vision of this is how we want to do things, and then all of the evolutions of it, right, have led to a place where, I mean, I could do it. Like, I used to do it on this mic, and I was behind the speaker, so I couldn't really tell.
Right.
Like, I was just kind of muddied anyway. So I'm like, well, I maybe turn you up or turn you down, and I was doing the best that I could. And we moved everything out to the front, which I do miss being. And
you didn't have access to the lights and stuff necessarily, so you would just leave it on.
Yeah, I just left it on whatever.
Yeah, and so.
Oh, by the way, the haze machine needs liquid.
Yeah.
If I ran out.
Haze fluid.
Haze stuff.
Haze stuff.
Haze stuff.
It needs stuff in that thing. It needs
the haze. Yeah. Not the fog liquid, but the haze.
Right.
But so, like, he does such a good job. Like, I don't have to worry about the levels. I don't have to worry about the EQs. If I think something doesn't sound good, I'll be like, hey, man, I always say it needs more bass. Hey, I need more subwoofer. I'm like the cowbell guy for bass.
Yeah.
So I need more sub, or whoa, that's something. He's like, yeah, I hear it, and he's doing it. Even with emo night, when I was over in the corner, I would go to adjust things, and I would see the levels going up and down.
Yeah,
like he's very fast with it. But then he does all the visuals too. Like he puts stuff up on the screen, and he'll change all the animations. And he's got he's got the QR code right in the middle now. Yeah. And then he's got both of the words with the scroller, and it's up on the TV behind us. I mean,
yeah, it's a more complicated setup, to your point, than your typical karaoke.
It's not
DJ
grandma's
setup.
karaoke.
And I think that's why people come out, right?
Dude.
Like that's why this has become such, like, I would say karaoke is right up there maybe with our goth nights as, like, right now anyway, and this changes, it always does, but the top, like, I can expect it's going to be a freaking busy night because it's karaoke. And so it's definitely,
we have regulars.
Yeah.
We have people that travel from Richmond. I mean, we have regulars that are here all the time.
Yeah.
And they're you know, and now is the travel season, so some of them aren't. But I mean, even with the travel season, I bet there were 35, 40 people. Yeah. I mean, it was, and the way that it does it now, everybody gets into the queue and everybody is there. And we didn't even get it. We were a couple minutes late this week, and we got it up right at 8 o'clock. Like right at like 8:01, everything got in. And I said, hey, it's up, let's go. And
how long does that queue get, like, right out the gate?
So
the whole night? I
think I had to announce it twice. The first time, it was one person and a regular, and they were asking, hey, when's it going to get? When's it going to? So they got on there, and she was the first one up. And she's like, oh, I don't want to go first. I'm like, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
You signed up. She said, well, how long is the line? And I said, there's no line right now. 2 minutes later, I'm not lying. 2 minutes later, somebody else was like, hey, I'll go first. And I looked, and it was a half an hour. It was like,
yeah.
Right? So we start going, and the next time I looked, it was 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was like
that's what happens.
In between songs.
People will come here for karaoke, and they'll expect, oh, I'm going to get to sing a couple songs. Because if you went somewhere else that's not quite as busy,
they only have 15 people.
Yeah, there's only like 15, 20 people. There can be like upwards of 80 people crammed over there, and everybody wants to sing. And it's like, just do the math. I mean, your typical 3 to 5 minute song, like, yeah, it just quickly, the queue backlogs.
Let's say it's just 3 minutes. And when I stopped, I had 28 people in the queue.
Yeah.
And that's when I quit. That's when I stopped it. And I stopped right at midnight.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want everybody to get mad at me. So it was like,
sure.
And at the same time, like, I didn't want to keep people late. I didn't want to stop her. So it was right. They did Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was done.
Nice.
And it was a whole group that did it, you know.
Yeah. That's a good one to end
on. That's what I said.
It's a long song.
And you know what's
it's a long one.
Was really bad was one of our regulars was next, and he only got to do one.
Well,
but
he got to do one though, right?
He said,
"Yeah,
I got here late tonight. I had to go. I had to run across town, and I got here late." He's like, "I know better than that," because he's a regular.
Sure.
And he always does the same song.
Yeah.
I know what song he's going to do. He's really freaking good at it.
Yeah.
Shout out to T-Riz. T-Riz, I hope you're on the podcast because he always does this.
Yeah.
And he knew right away. He's like, yeah, you know, I came to see everybody. I was hoping I'd get one. Mm-hmm. And he did. And he had two others lined up, but they were like 18 and 25. Right. I'm like, dude,
it's just not going to happen tonight.
But he didn't get there until 9:30.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not in... If your first song's not in by 8:30, you're only going to do 2.
Yeah.
If your second song's not in by 9:30,
and we tell people
you're not doing another one.
We we open at 4. This summer we open at noon, right? So there's plenty of time to get there, get food, get drinks, hang out for a little bit, and then they're ready to go.
Normally the queue's up before 8.
You can't be rolling in here after karaoke started. Like it's awesome that he got to sing one song, you know, but it can back up quite a bit, and then that's the hard thing, I'm sure, as a DJ, to be like, how do I make everybody happy? But like, this person isn't getting to sing at all. This person sang with their girlfriend, so they actually got to sing twice, even though they choose different names.
That happens so often.
Oh yeah,
it happens so much. Some of our regulars, because they'll do like, she'll do a solo and she'll do a solo, and then they'll sing together, and then she'll do a solo, but then now her husband wants to sing with her, so now her husband signs up and she's singing
different names.
They know how to
the system.
They know how to. Hey, well, if Steve signs up, then Janie can play. You know, she can do with Steve, and now she's singing. But people know, like, they know that.
Sure.
Like, they're not going up and just singing solo after solo.
Right.
And to EK's credit, again, EK, remember, we were doing the Care Fun thing, and that was an issue.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, the system does it. And we updated it or whatever, and we use it. And now it does it where if you sign up once and then you sign up again, if somebody else signs up, they will put you in front of that. It will put you in front of their second one.
Gotcha. So prioritizes people who haven't sang before.
Yeah, but if you sign up for 3, it will put them in front of your third one, I think. It's just so that you can't rack like 6.
Right.
That you will have people in the way. Yeah. And so the first timers will come up. And we had people that were in the arcade that didn't have any idea that it was karaoke night. And as I was walking around and, if I don't know somebody, I'll be like, hey, are you guys here for karaoke night? And I did it probably to 5-6 different groups. And they were like, you have karaoke? You have karaoke tonight? Right. I was up front. Bowie was up front. And this group walked in, and it was almost time. I said, oh, are you coming for karaoke? And they all turned around, and they were like, you have karaoke tonight?
What?
And I said, yeah, just to make sure you sign up early. And they did. They were all over there. I think one of them sang, but they came over to see it. Yeah. And people don't understand what a production it is.
Right.
I mean, we've got all the lights.
It's a chance for someone to feel like they're on stage.
They're a rock star. Yeah. I say it every time I post it. Like, you're a rock star when you come to Reclaim to do karaoke. Mm-hmm. You've got the lights, you've got the haze, you've got the projectors, you've got the crowd, you've got the audio video guys. Honest, like, we're up high. Yeah. Like we would be like in the nest if we're really doing audio video. We used to have the stage, but we moved that.
Well, and it's funny, speaking of this, and this is actually a really good transition point, I think, because the whole reason we started karaoke was the first style of event that we started doing once we had alcohol. And so when we opened, we didn't have anything, and I was always like, oh, it'd be cool. Yeah, I like singing karaoke. Karaoke's cool.
Oh, yeah. It's great when you come in and sing. Everybody loves it.
But if you don't have that liquid courage, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so I always thought, like, yeah, I can't do karaoke here, when we first opened, because it was just an arcade. We did try some other events. We had the hairband night was one. So we did some DJ style stuff, like some DJs playing music or something.
We would theme the nights.
Not a lot. And it was always a challenge. It was like, how do we get people to come out here for something special? We knew even back then in 2021, we were like, we want to do this kind of stuff. But without food, without drinks, without that stuff, it felt like, I don't know, other than the tournaments, we were obviously, even at that point, doing the pinball tournaments and stuff. But other than that, it was just like, doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then we got our ABC license, started selling food, and at that point, just beer, wine, cider, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right over there,
cans and bottles.
Right where skee ball is.
And for our first birthday party, we had karaoke. And people loved it. And I was like, I want to do this every month. And we said, at that point, we're going to do every first Friday of the month is going to be karaoke. And we've been consistent on that ever since then. Now we've done it.
After the first birthday?
Yeah. January of 2022. Yeah.
It was still over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember we did the lip sync challenge.
Yeah, that was before our expansion and all that. Yeah. And at that point, karaoke wasn't even a production. People just liked doing it.
No, it was literally the Harbinger speaker. It was just that speaker, or was it the EVs?
We would put the lyrics up on the projectors on this side, and crappy speakers, which we later upgraded, I think. And
oh yeah, you've upgraded twice.
We started building some stuff, and it was at that point we were like, all right, karaoke's awesome. What else could we do? One of my staff members was like, you need to do an emo night, and I was like, what's an emo night? And like, to me, like, I remembered emo as being like Dashboard Confessional growing up in high school, and I was like, people like to listen to emo as a group, and they're like, oh yeah, like Linkin Park, and I was like, oh
that kind.
You're using emo differently than I would have growing up, but that's cool. Like,
I remember
alternative pop punk, like whatever.
It is.
Like,
it's pop punk but there's emo. I mean,
Alien
we throw
Amphar, whatever the case may be. Like, people into that kind of thing.
My first two times, I can remember the guys, because even the employees, you're going to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'll DJ, that's fine. And we were over there. Remember, we had the big long table, and they would all sit around that, and it was like, it was kind of intimate because we were so close, right?
Yeah.
And the speakers were right there, and they were right on the thing. Dude, I was so nervous. I didn't know what they wanted to listen to.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was like,
did they give you like a playlist of like, here's the music that we want to hear?
Christina did, and Rachel. Rachel, which she worked here.
Right.
And they sent me like a Spotify. I'm like, well, I can't use Spotify.
Yeah.
So I had to like change it all over to Tidal.
Uh-huh.
And I got all of it. And it was quite long, but I didn't know. I mean, I know a lot of music. I didn't know half of the bands.
Right.
In this emo night thing. I had never heard the songs. I'm like, oh, let's play this.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it has evolved. I mean, that was, they were pretty well attended then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I think when we got into the bigger space, then it really blew up. I mean, they were, at some points, they were as big as the karaoke nights. I can remember a couple months where it was like karaoke was big and emo was just as big.
Oh, man. The emo night we had, I think it was 2 years ago on Halloween, and everybody dressed up.
Oh.
Huge. Absolutely
Bonkers.
huge. Yeah. Tons of fun. And it's still a good night by all means. But, like, yeah, it was, in many ways, the event nights followed with the alcohol.
With after the alcohol came in.
Which is weird, right? Because that's always been this weird needle to thread here of you want this to be a family-friendly place. I do. I definitely want and strive for this place to be family-friendly most all hours of the day. And, you know, when we first opened, we just could not do the ABC thing. We were like, we're just trying to get open here. We just like, I literally, instead of, you know, because of COVID, instead of spending a ton of money on construction, I was just like, I'm just putting the games out. I'm going to put some fun lights up that I can change the colors to and do some stuff. And we're going to get open because we need to get open. Like, we need to make some money and get open and, you know, in a safe space and all of that. So we got open, but you know, our original plan was to be a full-service restaurant and bar, and that desire never left me. I always wanted to do that. My business partner at the time did not. He was he didn't drink, and he was like, it's a lot of overhead and the whole restaurant thing. He was like, this is actually better. We can just have the games. And I was like, no, I really want to have the whole vision.
Well, but there's no money it's very hard if you don't have something to go with the arcade.
Yeah. it's
hard.
Less staff. So it costs less to run too. So that's the trade-off there. But for me, I had this vision for what I wanted it to be. I could see the karaoke nights and the stuff that we could do if you had all of the elements happening. I wanted to get there. Mm-hmm. And the business partner that I opened the arcade with, full disclosure, we are the best of friends. Him and I ran a web hosting company together before we started this, but he lives in Italy, and I was here boots on the ground running the thing. And I think he recognized, like, I had bigger visions, and he was like, let me just back away, you buy me out, and I'll just be on the watching you make your dream happen. And so that's what we did. So I'm the only owner of the arcade now, you know, and we still, I mean, he's one of my best friends. Like, we still talk.
He still comes into town. He was here a
occasionally
while ago.
Yeah, occasionally he's here in Fredericksburg on business and stuff. And so, like, you know, left on the best of terms. But he could see, like, he was like, I know what you want to do. I can't be a part of that for a variety of reasons. The primary one being that he lives in Italy.
He is in Italy, right? So
yeah, that was one thing that COVID really screwed up.
I remember you talking. I remember that time in this, and he couldn't see the things that were building.
Right.
He couldn't see the momentum. He couldn't feel the momentum.
Right.
He didn't come into an emo night and he was blown away.
Right.
Right. Like, he didn't see the lip sync battle that we did that was just bonkers. Right. Like, he didn't get to feel those things.
Yeah.
Because he was there.
Right.
And
it's much easier to gauge that stuff when it's like, all right, we're building and we're doing this and we're trying this and that worked. Holy cow, let's do that again.
Yeah.
Definitely, you feed off of that energy.
And he rightfully, and he was very, he was amazing about it.
Yeah.
To take a step back and be like, look, dude, you're doing great.
Right.
I'm going to be a burden on my, like, this isn't where you do it.
Yeah.
So, and you guys, I mean, like you said, you're still best friends. You're still great friends. So
we, I guess it was the first, say, 10 months that we were open, we didn't have any food or any alcohol at all. We had bags of chips up front, we had cans of soda, and that was about it, candy. And really, that was all you could get here. When we worked out that deal where I basically, once we made the agreement that I was going to buy out that partner and I would be free then to move forward, I said, okay, just to be clear, we're good. Like, even once the lawyers sign off and all that, but I'm ready to go now. Like, you're cool with that? He said, you run and go. That weekend, I bought a food truck. Like
it was that weekend?
Like literally 4 days after I had that conversation, and I was like, we're good, right? Like, he's like, yeah, we're good. I was like, okay, noted. And I bought a food truck that weekend. And
$100,000 later.
And I was like, this is how we're going to offer food in the space, because there's no kitchen here at all. And in Virginia, some people listening probably know this, but for those outside, every state has their own various laws in terms of how you handle alcohol. In Virginia, you cannot serve any alcohol if you don't also serve food. Mm-hmm. Or there are like special licenses, like breweries don't have to, but they can't serve other people's alcohol. They can't serve like a Miller Lite to you. They have to serve their stuff that they make. And I looked at all of those. I'm like, are we a museum? Could I be a museum? Like, those have special licenses. And it was like, oh, but then you can't charge for the alcohol. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I'm
doing that.
I looked at all these loopholes and I was like, I'm going to have to serve food. Like, that's what I'm going to have to do. So we bought a food truck, parked it out back, and said, this is how we will have a kitchen. We'll run the food inside. And so that allowed us then to work with the ABC, who gave us our license. And we specifically applied at that time for a very limited license that was beer, like basically all packaged stuff. And packaged means cans, bottles, beer, wine, cider. It actually helped us in some ways that, like, there was a big movement towards ready to drink cocktails too.
Yeah.
And those were allowed under those. The high noons, the Surfsides, basically the twisted teas, all those various things, canned drinks that are like malt beverage, or even if they're made with vodka or gin or something, they're pre-mixed and canned. And we were allowed to serve those as well, but we could not have liquor at all. And that was fine at the time. I was like, most people, I think, wanted to have like a craft beer or a cider or something, and play some pinball. And they were like, man, I would just love being able to do that. And, I was a big craft beer drinker at the time. I know you still are, and were at the time as well. In fact, I meant to tell you on the last episode.
I thought about this earlier. I don't know if we have time today, but I don't know how long it's going to take. I have no idea what it is.
It's just a very quick aside, but like I met Collins at a pinball tournament. However, I knew about him because of the Fredericksburg beer scene, and this was like back in, I would say, the pre-COVID 2019, 2018 realm, where we were chasing like the newest sour that Red Dragon was coming out with, and you were taking really good photos.
Oh yes.
And so there was a very vibrant Facebook group where people were talking about all of the Fredericksburg beer. It's unfortunately not really used a whole lot these days, because I think the craft beer scene as a whole has kind of fallen off of a cliff. But at the time, that was the thing in Virginia. You went to different breweries, and it was a very, like, our governor at the time, McAuliffe, was really big on building up that aspect of Virginia.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of incentives for breweries to open, and you had a lot of these nano breweries opening up, like Maltese, where now we
Red Dragon.
Pinball, like Red Dragon and others. They could do that very easily. They didn't have to serve food like everybody else did. That was very strategic by the government to make sure that we can get these places to be open. It will drive tourism, and that worked. But yeah, you were posting photos in that group and all that, and so I knew of your name before I met you in person. I'm like, oh, you're that guy that took those photos.
They're really good pictures that were really awesome of those really good beers.
Right. Oh yeah, because they'd be like fancy sours at this place, Red Dragon, here in town, and they make great sours. They make great sours.
They do, yeah.
But they're like vibrant. They're like bright red and yellow and stuff. And
I bet I could go back and find them, because I would have. I remember getting a couple of them where there were like 3 or 4 or 5 of them on the table, and you put the coaster in the middle.
I remember one time I went there before they opened and waited in a line with probably 75 other people to get a crowler of a particular
They're
sour.
crowlers. Yeah, yep.
I would never do that today. That's just a very different picture of like what it was then.
You had to go around
now.
the corner and you go over to the
Yeah.
I met a couple people that worked there, and
it was a different scene, right?
I could walk in and they'd be like, "Yeah, I got your crowler over here." You know.
But we were playing pinball at Maltese, and so pinball and beer had this very close relationship, even for me, and I think for many other people too, where it was just like we opened and they were like, "When are you gonna have beer?" And I'm like, I'm thinking about it and working on it, but we just needed to get open, and COVID screwed all that up too, because it's like, well, we require masks and the health department and all that. Like, it's hard enough just to have people spaced out properly playing these games, much less you add in drinking or eating. And we were just like, we're not dealing with that right now. But later that year, it was like, okay, how are we doing this?
I remember one of the caveats about when you got the truck. I don't know why this sticks in my brain so much, but I just thought it was funny because you've already, there's no kitchen here. So to be able to serve the food, you had to get a kitchen.
Right.
So you bought a truck, but it was a truck. It wasn't a kitchen.
Right.
It's a food truck. So the person that was helping you was like, well, listen, I've done this before. You have to strap the truck to the parking lot. Yeah. So you had to get like these wheel straps and screw them into the parking lot so that it was an immobile truck.
I basically strapped that truck to the ground, making it immobile. But
to be able to pass as a kitchen so that you could get the beer.
Right.
And it worked for years.
Yeah, I mean, it did. I mean, it still works today. We've upgraded to a food trailer, which I probably should have even gone with originally, but the truck came. I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm like, there we go, let's go. But
now.
It never moved, so it was like it didn't need to be a truck necessarily, but it worked for our needs.
And it was quite a bit less expensive than the trailer.
That is true.
It was a very good. I mean, it was like.
And we used it, man. We definitely pushed it to its limit.
It was a perfect spot to start.
Yeah. So that allowed us to have food, which then allowed us to get our ABC license. And we launched all of that of all weekends, Black Friday weekend of the first year that we're open. And I have never, for an owner like myself that's watching the numbers and things and knowing all of this came together, and it was just like to go from here way up to here in one weekend. And it was just like, this is... it was such validation for what I had decided to do, and knowing all of the cautioning of the overhead involved and the people and all this and all that. And I was just sort of like, no, this was the right move. People are so excited about all of this, and and it's even grown since then. But that weekend was just sort of like, oh, this is what it's going to be like, huh? And so, we had that, going into the Thanksgiving period. And then our anniversary is in late January. And that was when we said, let's do karaoke, because now people can drink. Let's have a karaoke night. And that was our first one. Different DJ. You weren't doing it at the time. But and of course we hadn't done the expansion, so karaoke was very different. And we're like, where are we going to put you? We'll put you in a corner over here and do this or whatever. But we had karaoke and people loved it, and that was when I was like, we need to do that. We need to do more events now. They bring people out, and
beer is a very social thing.
It is.
I mean, even you came over this weekend. Mark came over this weekend. Everybody brought their own drinks, and it was pinball.
Yeah,
that's a very social thing. Also, I can't imagine having a pinball tournament without somebody having, hey, what beer you're drinking? You know what? And to your credit, and maybe a little to mine, you have an extremely good selection of craft beers, a huge variety.
Yeah.
I mean, you go out from everything from PBR to coffee stouts.
I knew,
and everything in between.
I knew going in I wanted a huge selection. I was big into craft beer at the time.
And you do. You have it. And you're an IPA guy.
I still have an eye for it. Yeah, I'm an IPA guy, but I like a good stout too, and some other things. I definitely can understand the whole variety and the gamut of things.
Well, that's the thing.
There's a place downtown. I don't know if you've ever been to Benny's Pizza in downtown. And I was always impressed with their collection of craft beer. They have one fridge, and it's just full of 16-ounce cans, but it's a variety of all different styles of beer, all different stuff, and I was always like, that really was an inspiration for me. Like, that's how I would do it.
You know who else has that? Is the Butcher downtown.
Yeah.
They have. I would go there. I wouldn't get any butchered meat. I'd go and
you get the beer.
What's the cool beer that you have?
Sure.
You know, and being a craft brew person, you in the space, you know where the different refrigerators are.
Yeah,
you know that Benny's has this. You know the Butcher has this. You know that Red Dragon's Gosa is coming out.
If you're going to try something new, much like going to a brewery, rather than buying a 12-pack or a 6-pack at a grocery store, you can just buy one can and try it. Yeah,
and I think
that was nice.
You've taken that.
We didn't have draft at the time, so it wasn't like I could pour you a sample of something. You had to buy the whole can, so that was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah,
we added that.
I mean, that's what you do everywhere anyway. I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you get unless it's on draft,
right?
You get well, yeah, I'll try that can.
Right.
They're not going to be like, well, if you don't like it, I mean, it's a can. You have to have it. You know what I mean? But yeah, when you started, and I can remember going through the list of the distributors and be like, this one and this one, and don't get this one and this one, and don't get this one, but these are and then
you were the person who turned me on to like Great Lakes, and they've been amazing. Their stuff is so good, and we still carry some of their stuff. Yep. We try to keep a regular rotation of all kinds of different things, and it's obviously, as beer is very seasonal, we have all kinds of stuff. Ciders, seltzers, non-alcoholic beer.
Yep.
That's a big thing now for the non-drinkers, is that they want to hang out with their friends who are drinking and not feel excluded, or they're sober and they still like the idea of it. And so like Athletic makes great non-alcoholic beers. Aslan came out with an NA Sour, which was really good.
Ooh.
Yeah, they had
one. I like Aslan. Aslan's my jam.
So
I didn't try it.
Yeah, so like we had those. We added draft, and again, this will really paint a picture for how I operate. Our way of adding draft lines, because this was before the expansion.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't have a walk-in. I didn't have draft lines.
We don't have time for this story.
Any of this stuff. No, I'll just tell you. I built a kegerator. I built a keezer, essentially.
Yes.
I bought a freezer, put tap lines in it, and stuck it at the bar. We made it fit there. We did it for that event, which didn't turn out that great that weekend, but then I think we were like, well, we've got the keezer now, why wouldn't we just put this in the arcade? And I'm like, will it fit at the bar? That's not much space. And we made that thing fit, and so they had 4 taps right there and a keezer right there at the bar, and that's what they used all the way, frankly, up until with the expansion. We were able to move the taps a little bit. It was still using a keezer, but they were on the wall, and now we have a different kegerator.
At least you couldn't see the keezer.
Yeah, right.
If you guys don't know what a keezer is, Google keezer.
Basically,
this guy made a whole keezer. And then what were you?
Like a white freezer.
Where were you? I can just remember Paula and I working on that thing, and the lines were all foam, and there was beer all over because it was before the expansion.
I got COVID.
That's right.
I got COVID.
You got COVID.
We planned this amazing outdoor bags and barbecue event.
Yes.
And everything
Which didn't go well.
Everything was going to go amazing. We were going to have draft beer for the first time ever, and I built a keezer that we were going to put outside, and we were going to be serving. I got specialty cups with our logo on them, and that was going to be amazing, and it was going to be so awesome. And the first thing that happened was that the weather was so freaking hot.
It was so hot.
It was like literally to the point that people were saying, "Do not go outside. It is dangerous. Stay indoors." And we were like, "No. We've got an event. We want you outside. We'll serve you lots of beer."
And on the blacktop and in the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
No coverage or anything. We're going to have this big event. We're going to do a tournament, all this other stuff. Second thing, our AC died that weekend. Also sucked. We had to buy external air conditioning units and run those lines. This building's huge. There's no way those can push enough air to make it happen, but we were just doing anything we could just to make it get by. And then I got COVID, and I literally just was laid up in bed for several days, feeling like death. And
we couldn't get the phone.
I can't help you all at all.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out.
Yeah, some events.
It was too cold, or it was
and
too.
Some are not, and that we took the L on for sure.
That was a big L. I think that was the second one. You're like, we're not going to do these anymore.
No, after that, it was just this is a cursed time. July in Virginia is just sort of, we stay indoors, right? You can come into the arcade where it's nice and hopefully air conditioned when it's working, right?
Well, now we have events indoors.
We do.
We have all Fridays
all
and
kinds of things.
But I think the drafts went over really, really well. And you have a good.
That was another evolution of the bar, was being able to serve draft beer. And then, if people wanted to try a little sip of something, they could, but also just draft beer tastes better than canned beer. Like it's really cool to be able to drink out of a cup and do those kind of things. And it was like, this is another thing we can add on a small scale, again, trying to adjust for the way we're trying to grow. But I would still get people who would say, all you have is beer? And we'd be like, well, no, we've got wine. I don't drink wine. Cider? No. You can't make like a vodka Sprite or anything? We'd be like, no, we don't have anything like that. And I resisted it for a long time, offering mixed beverages. It wasn't because we didn't qualify. There are more rules and restrictions around it in Virginia. Again, not only do you have to serve food like we already had to do, but the bar is much higher. You have to serve quite a bit of food. It has to meet a ratio requirement of like a certain percentage of food sales versus liquor sales. We met all those requirements. The ABC agent even said, like, if you wanted this, you could get that license. And we'd be like, yeah, but it changes things. It changes things, and I really was hesitant to go full bar. For a while, we didn't have the space, so it didn't matter. Once we expanded, we were like, well, we do have the space, but this is really easy. It's easy to train somebody to pull a can out of a fridge, open it, and hand it to someone.
And the evolution, evolution is not like, it's not like, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this. So,
I mean, this is across 4.5 years of
right,
being in
and
business.
So we went from a kitchenette with a cooler to a little bit of a bar, and then then it expands, and now we have alcohol, and then the expansion hits, and now we've got the bigger freezers and now we have drafts, and I mean that's over a 3-4 year span, right?
Sure.
It isn't, and the drafts really help too, because you got a specialty beer, or you got something that wasn't going to be. We have more variety, right? So, but the last variety was liquor. The last variety was mixed drink.
Somebody wants a rum and coke. Somebody wants,
But to your point,
mojito.
there wasn't like this speed. There wasn't this need, right? And you just kind of felt it out.
Yeah.
You just said, you know what?
And some of that
it's time now.
Some of that was a personal journey for myself. So like I keep saying, I was into craft beer a lot. I still drink craft beer, but it's not my go-to anymore. As I've been personally more drinking liquor-based drinks. They're easier on my stomach as I get older. As I lost weight, I was trying to cut back on the carbs and stuff, and so like I started getting into bourbon. I know that's not your thing, but it is mine. And so like it was one of those things where it was just like, yeah, that could be kind of cool. I still don't quite see it. For me, the hesitancy, I think more so than anything, was the vibe of the space, which was definitely a hesitancy that I think was shared by my staff and by some other people as well. It was just sort of like, is this going to change Reclaim if I add liquor? Because liquor has a connotation of like, it's going to bring the riffraff. It's going to bring a crowd. It's going to be a problem. And I countered that by, in part, I think we've never had those issues. People pay to come in. They're happy to be here. It's an amazing space, but they paid to come in. They can't just walk in. They can't come here and just get smashed. That's not why they're here, and it's not. They can do that much cheaper in different places. They come here.
Yeah, where they don't have to pay to get in the door.
Right. So like that barrier to coming in, to be like, you're here because you want to be here because you love these games. This just added oh man, and I can have the drink that I wanted to have, as opposed to having to settle for something else or just not have anything at all. That changes things for people. And now they're like, oh, thank goodness. Like I can drink a whiskey or an old fashioned or a mojito or something while I'm playing the pinball machine or something.
Yeah.
Like it rounds out that experience for them, whereas before it was just like a little asterisk. I always called it like this was the one asterisk that still existed in the arcade. As I would say, we have over 75 games, pinball, arcade. We have a full food menu and kitchen, and we have beer, wine, cider, seltzer, I could not say that we had a full
Yeah,
bar.
liquor, right.
I couldn't say we had a bar because saying a bar would entail that they could order whatever they wanted.
You could imply that.
And so it was always like, well, we don't have that. And now I can finally say we have that. In fact, we're drinking a drink that I made for you.
A very nice
right now.
Mojito. I don't know what to call it. Hybrid.
This is a South Side. It is a gin-based cocktail, but it is
yeah, I guess you did say that before.
Yeah. So it's
a gin-based, and I told you the last time I was drinking gin was with orange juice, and it was just gin and juice when I was a sophomore.
But you love mojitos, right?
Love mojitos.
It's probably your favorite mixed beverage.
If I get a mixed beverage, that's my first thing is, hey, can you make mojitos?
Right.
So, which is really cool because you have. When you did this, you came up with signature drinks.
Right.
If you come here, you have a list of, I wish we had them, but there are probably 6 signature drinks, and everybody's trained to make those signature drinks.
Right.
You know, how they're supposed to be, and with all the
and
little
they're
gummies, and with all the fun. Yeah, right.
It's like the Princess Peach Paloma.
Which is really good.
The Pac Manhattan. The Kong Island
Island's
tea.
amazing.
Yeah.
The Super Punch Out.
Right. So we came up with fun names for drinks, and I actually think they taste really good, too.
Mojito's not one of those.
It's not yet.
So I say... Can you make a mojito?
Yeah.
And they say, yes.
Right.
I hear people all the time, like the other night when I was here doing karaoke, somebody will come up and say, you know, can you do bourbon with this and that? And Mandy's super good at it. She's like, oh, yeah, well, what about this?
Right.
You know, because she's got the experience there. And I think the other people kind of look to her and learn from that.
Yeah.
You know,
there's so many drinks out there, right? Yeah. That can be a challenge. The one thing that we decided not to deal with was Bloody Marys. Because
because of the juice.
You have to, with everything, it's about ingredients. Even with mojitos, we have to stock mint for that. And there aren't a lot of other drinks that use mint.
I appreciate it.
Hey.
I'll give you the $20 a month.
Now
for
I have
mint.
a second drink. And, maybe that comes as a specialty item. When there's specialty on the cocktail menu, people order them more, and so that can help drive people aren't using a lot of mint. Let's use it in a specialty drink, and then we'll go through plenty of mint.
Oh, yes.
So that's one way to drive those particular types of things.
I was going to ask you that. Do you see? I know it's very, very early.
Early.
It's only been a week, right? 2 weeks.
We didn't even say Memorial Day weekend
for the pinball
was
tournament.
when we launched mixed beverage as a part of our bar.
I actually had to tell the karaoke people the other day,
right?
Like, hey guys, listen, the last time you were here, that didn't exist.
People are still finding out about it.
And I said, listen, to go over, the bartenders will get you something good. There's signature drinks. I've got mojitos. In fact, somebody came up to me and said, hey man, I got your drink. And I said, did you just get the same that I got? Did you just tell her to give it what I had? And she said, yeah, it's amazing. And it was a blackberry. It was a blackberry mojito.
Yeah,
it was good, and
or raspberry, right? It
was raspberry. No, it was black. It was black raspberry, is what she said.
Black raspberry.
Raspberry.
It's basically I had gotten Chambord, and Chambord is a raspberry liqueur, and that was the way she was able to do that.
You know what she did to me though? You know I do citrus vodka, so my mojitos are citrus vodka instead of
rum. Yeah,
and the first couple. She put Bacardi. I was like, what are you using? She said Bacardi. I was like, but
as everybody who drinks mojitos.
I said, but man, And she said, I know. And I said, well, I didn't know. That's how good it was.
Yeah.
But so my question was, in the 2 weeks of data, have you seen where the signature drinks are the main things that people buy because you have the menu with them on it, or are they coming in and getting old fashions or mojitos or margaritas?
There are a few drinks that also come up on the list. Old fashions for sure. Pours of Buffalo Trace neat definitely comes up pretty often, or just on the ice or something. Comes up quite a bit. But yes, the cocktail menu items come up way more. And people will do like a vodka Sprite or something. But it's worth having the specialty drink menu.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you had to go. It was a process.
Yeah.
Like for people that are thinking about, okay, if I open a bar, and this is what I'm going to do. This is a great kind of talk about the evolution of where you started to where you are. Your beer menu was everybody's basic beer menu. Here's your beer. Here's what it is. Here's your beer. But when you do a mixed drink menu, you got to think of a cool name.
Right.
You got to make sure it tastes good. You got to make sure the ingredients are all common ingredients, so you're not doing bloody. You know, I mean, it was worth the trouble and the work and the time that you put in to make this menu.
You know what I compare it to is I love to cook, and mixed drinks are very much like working in a kitchen. It's very much like cooking. You have to come up with a recipe. You have to test that recipe and make sure it tastes good. And then, like
we did that.
Even with our specialty items for our food menu, we come up with fun names for them. And so it very much aligns with that versus just like, oh yeah, that'll be a good beer. Let's buy a case of that or two and put that in the fridge. Like that's way easier.
That's so much easier. Yeah.
But I find a lot of enjoyment out of this because I love to cook and because like I enjoy these drinks too, is like coming up with those ideas and things. And
you like to make the drinks.
And to be clear, I've had a lot of help. Like the staff have gotten involved.
Sure. Yeah.
And they've come up with names for things and recipes and stuff. I've been doing a lot of research on YouTube. My YouTube algorithm, I look like a full-on alcoholic now. Like
pinball and liquor.
Pretty much that's my life now. It's just like new Harry Potter pinball machine, and
there's a new Harry Potter pinball machine.
Here's 7 ways to make an old fashioned. Like that's what it's recommending me. So, yeah.
7 ways to make an old fashioned.
Yeah.
There's one. There's one way to make an old fashioned. However you make it.
There's so many ways to make it. No. At least 7.
But it's good. It's good to see that the work and this is the vision. This is where you're pretty much at the pinnacle right now. Not that it's not going to continue to evolve, but you're at this spot where now you've gotten these drinks and these names, and you've got the full bar, you've got the cool lights under the bottles. Yeah. The bottles are already half empty. I mean, I was just commenting before we started. It is a very popular.
People are ordering those drinks.
It was something that you envisioned and that you saw, and this is how we're going to do it. And it wasn't necessarily like a race against time. You felt it out. You said.
I mean, even like I thought it was going to be simple, and we're running low on time. But I could talk forever on this. But like even so much as like the glassware. So this is actually plastic glassware that feels and looks like a rocks glass. But it's plastic because we didn't want to deal with glass in the arcade. We didn't want to have, I mean, people do drop these. People have dropped these already in the few weeks that we've been running this. And so we knew that we wanted something that could still feel and look classy, but could be safe in the arcade. I had to get an ice maker. We had to find a place for that to fit in. We had to plumb all of that in. Your brother was huge at helping out with that aspect of it, and the drain lines and the water lines. We still don't have a bar gun. Coke is...
Oh, I was going to ask you that. I purposely didn't ask you over there so I could ask you on the podcast. What is up with Coke?
Coke is going to install it next Thursday. So a week from this coming Thursday, we'll finally have a bar gun.
You're going to have a bar gun.
We got delayed. And a bar gun, for those who don't know, that's kind of an industry term or whatever for the thing that they use for serving fountain beverages. But it's particularly important in a bar because you have tonic and ginger ale and Sprite and Coke and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And you don't want to crack cans for all of those drinks. You just want to be able to pour a certain amount into a glass. And so we'll finally have a bar gun from Coke. It was delayed in part because of me, because I asked for a water filter and they didn't have one in stock. And I was like, I really want the water to be filtered.
Rightfully so. I mean,
even just for regular water. If somebody wants a glass of water, you don't really want, to pour it from a sink or something. And that's essentially what we would be doing if there wasn't a filter in the line. So, they had to order a water filter. It's coming in. We'll have the bar gun here very soon.
Sweet.
And that'll make things easier for them. We have cans and we have bottles of club soda and tonic and all that, but it's just annoying, and it's more refrigerator space that they could be using for other things and streamlining.
So there's an update on that. On I know we got to close out. Update on propane.
Propane is still in process. The guy is coming tomorrow to do repairs. We were able. Some people were worried, like, do you have a functioning kitchen? And we do. Like, our kitchen was able to function all weekend long and a week prior as of a week from last Friday. But, yeah, essentially what we did is, like, I'm having to go and get tanks of propane filled. every day until we get the repairs done. The repairs are happening tomorrow.
Great.
And then I've got to contact the company.
And then they'll
come out and reconnect our big tank, and then we'll be good to go.
And then it'll be all good. Good. So tomorrow, hopefully. And then
it's happening. Yeah, it's been a process, but thankfully it was only a couple days of us really being in the weeds of either not being able to serve food or having to serve a really, really, really limited menu that wouldn't have worked over the weekend. So this was a workaround that was able to happen. So
did we mention the freezer last week? That was only this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
the
just
freezer's
this week.
It's still working though.
I believe so.
Okay, cool. So quick fix. Quick fix on that.
Just appliance stuff and those kind of things, but they're all working out.
Okay.
Things are going really well. Yeah, like you've noticed, like the bar has been a nice addition, and we've got a full week ahead. We've got a good band coming. We've got women flipping out on Thursday. So our women's pinball tournament will be happening on Thursday. We'll be streaming that on Twitch. Lots going on like always at the arcade.
Yeah, hopefully it's Thursday night. I'll be here.
You'll still be here?
Well, I'm going to tell them I'm not going to be out unless I'm on my way back, because I'm like Friday I got to be here.
Right.
I'm going on vacation. I got to be here Friday. So
if you tune into Twitch, you'll see Colin sipping on mojitos and commenting on the women's pinball tournament.
Hopefully doing my telestrator too.
There you go.
The John Madden.
All the things. So check that out.
That was that. Oh, opencoindoor at gmail.com.
Yes, please.
Ask questions
I
about
love
the bar.
feedback. We
ask
got
questions about the glasses.
The only feedback that I got one email. It was from Bayless, and he said more Pango in the podcast. So we definitely need to work in Pango somehow. Maybe we need a Pango tournament just for Bayless. I don't know. But yeah, I would love it. I would love to know, about tournaments in general. What drinks you would think would be cool at the arcade would be a fun one, or just in general, what kind of things do you want to hear about?
Topics
from someone who lives and breathes this stuff every day.
Do you want it to be pinball? Do you want to get into the ins and outs of that?
We'll get into anything that you all want to talk about.
Something that's in here, laser discs.
Yeah. Definitely hit us up. If you're local, come out this week. We'd love to see you, particularly on our slow days. We'll be open again early on Friday at noon. And really, again, just thank you all, no matter whether you're listening in Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Amazon Music, YouTube, all the various places.
Now we're going to have a video on YouTube?
We're going to have all the things. So
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See y'all.